my song. Let's sing it. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Come on, it's gonna be fucking awesome. You know the words. It's gonna be fucking awesome. That's it, see. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Yeah!
Howdy, 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 everybody. It is I, Jesse Blaze Snider, the Coolest Geek Alive. How are you doing? I'm doing good. I saw Jurassic Park, or Jurassic World Rebirth, or whatever, over the weekend, and I really liked it. I mean, all of the critiques that I see of it are valid. It's not anything new. And the end is the least enjoyable. But the general vibe of the movie, I quite liked it. I know a lot of people have been talking smack about the movie and saying that it's uncreative. It's definitely uncreative. It could have been better. But compared to so many things that we've been offered over the past bunch of years now, it's the least of the worst. And today we're maybe going to be talking about a least of the worst sort of situation with Superman. I've got one major spoiler that I have here. And maybe if you're like, you really don't want a spoiler, just like plug your ears for a second. Because this is a major spoiler for me that I'm glad that I found out before I went in to see it. Because this would hurt my enjoyment of it and I would be freshly upset in the theater. But I still think that we have to support this movie. And I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. But real quick, plug your ears if you don't want to hear the spoiler. Spoiler: Superman's parents end up being awful. And there's like a message for him that he never gets to see the end of it until some point in the movie. And then when he sees the end of the message, basically it's like an Invincible scenario where his father and his mother have told him to subjugate planet Earth and take as many wives as possible, and they were pieces of garbage. And then he has to make, morally figure out what this means for him, because he's a good guy, but as it turns out, his parents sucked. All right, if you're back from covering your ears now, I'll just say in vague terms, they've changed Superman's origin in a fairly major moral way, and I don't like it. It's a big change that I do not prefer. I would call that a fundamental flaw in the narrative that you're going to go see, and I'm really not happy about it. But with all that said, I still think that Superman, the character, can survive the character assassination of his parents. I mean, as we saw in Man of Steel, I mean, granted, Man of Steel was worse because it was the parent who was actively raising him, teaching him to be, I wanted to say agoraphobic. That's not the right thing, but teaching him to be a non-interference sort of person, teaching him not truth, justice, the American way, but like distrust. And I hate Man of Steel. I really genuinely hate Man of Steel. It's not the type of Superman experience that I most enjoy. And for those of you who liked it, I would suggest that you probably have not been gifted some of the best Superman stories on planet Earth. They are largely in the form of comic books. But once you read a really great Superman story where Superman is cleverly figuring out how to do the right thing no matter what, I promise you're not going to want to see these badass Superman tattoo versions of Superman. these superficial versions of Superman. The idea of Superman is the man who has all the power but all the morality. How does he balance those two things to be a good man and someone who could basically do anything? There are so many wonderful stories that have been told in the comics that I can point to. If you go back in episodes, I did a podcast episode on Superman and great Superman comic books to start. I did Batman. I did a bunch. Go back in time in this podcast and you will find oodles of wonderful information. What's so funny about Truth, Justice, and the American Way is one that I love to talk about, though, written by Joe Kelly during a long run where Jeff Loeb and Joe Kelly were heading up 4 Superman books with 2 other writers. And the whole slate of books was really lovely. A lot of great stories came through there, like Emperor Joker. And I would recommend that whole run. And in the middle of that run is a story called What's So Funny About Truth, Justice, and the American Way. And basically it has Superman going up against some modern superheroes who are doing what they need to do to get the bad guys and whatnot. And essentially, you think that Superman is going to break from his ways and be more like these guys. And in the end, he manages to sort of fool the audience and fool them and still stick to who he is at his heart. And it's a wonderful storyline. I think they've adapted it into animation now. I'm pretty positive I saw that at some point a while back. The DC animated universe has some great films and stuff. They're just not like tied together, and they're all kind of forgettable. They're kind of easy to forget because there's so many based on some of the storylines, and they're like close-ish to some of the good storylines, but not exactly. It's a mixed bag. But yeah, I'm very fundamentally upset about our spoiler. I think anything that really fundamentally flies in the face of the origin story that's been established, the one that people have come to know and love, is a problem for me. This is about reverence. This is about honoring the source material. This is about bringing to life a story that people like you and I have wanted to see brought to life all our lives. Especially Superman. Like, there's so many stories that haven't been told that really I know so many people are just dying to see a couple of these stories brought to life on the big screen. And I mean, just like take a look at Superman's entire rogues gallery, and we still haven't gotten Brainiac on the fucking big screen, let alone Metallo or Bizarro or the Parasite or any of the wonderful characters from the comics that aren't just Superman derivatives. I mean, granted, Bizarro is a little bit of a Superman derivative, but at least an interesting one. James Gunn had talked about Lobo being one of the biggest characters that hasn't been brought yet to the big screen, and there's some truth to that, I think. Lobo is a wonderful character, one of my favorites at DC, who has not been brought to the big screen, and he is like a popular character, that granted not as popular as some, like he has not as much good work has been done with Lobo as has been done with Deadpool, let's say, but he is that sort of character. And another one that you would love to see Superman fight some of these interesting guys who he's had to come up against in the comics. When he fights just versions of himself, it's not so fun. Another bit of a spoiler, I think we see in the movie this Ultraman is some guy in a black costume. We've seen anybody who's got toys and stuff who've been looking at the toys, which is just a fucking Superman derivative. What no spoilers for like specifically what it'll end up being, even though they're calling him Ultraman. And maybe I should warn you ahead of time that it's not any sort of Ultraman from the comics. So any sort of cool thing that you're thinking, nah, it's not that cool. And ultimately, you're going to end up seeing Superman fighting Superman, which is the thing that we've been trying to get away from with these movies. I think, based on everything that I hear, that this movie does get away from that quite a bit. And I want to talk about why you should support the movie, because I see that the powers that be have been really trying to undermine this film in a lot of different ways. And I think, despite the spoiler that I mentioned, this is worth checking out, worth supporting. And I want to go back a little bit to what's been going on at DC and Warner Brothers. A man named David Zaslav was brought in to run the company. He got rid of a lady who was planning the DC universe into the ground. She had been planning a female Trinity. In the comics, they've messed around with this idea of a Trinity in Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman. Now, this Trinity has worked to varying degrees. There's definitely something kind of nice about the Batman-Superman duo. These guys are two sides of the same coin, but one of them is, a little bit gruffer and a little bit more violent, and the other one's a little bit sweeter and a little bit kinder. But they're both trying to accomplish the same thing. They're both trying to make the world a better place. They just have different ideas about, how you do that. And somewhere in the middle is this warrior Olympian princess, Diana, who is, a little bit more moral and fun like Superman, but also willing to go for the jugular if need be, like Batman. And she is like this balanced energy between Batman and Superman. And I see that, and I like that. And I've read a number of comics of the, Wonder Woman, Batman, Superman Trinity. They've done a couple different series now like that. And it is fun. It's at its best, it's really good. But most of it is like good. I'm with that Trinity idea. However, the idea to take that Trinity and gender swap it to make a new Batman, which was the plan. They were going to have Batgirl, the black Batgirl that was being introduced in the movie that got tax written off. If you hadn't heard about that, when Dave Zaslav came into Warner Brothers, he famously put a finished movie, a finished Batgirl that had cameos from Michael Keaton's Batman, into mothballs. Nobody will ever see it. It is a tax write-off for the company. That was an interesting thing to do. It left a lot of people in Hollywood kind of pissed off because I think Jennifer Salke was the name of the lady who was running the DC film stuff at the time. She was people were hoping she was going to be the Kathleen Kennedy of the DC universe, and she was on her way. The Harley Quinn and Birds of Prey movie was evidence of this, a gender swapped and completely inauthentic execution of Birds of Prey, which are a cast of ladies, but they couldn't even execute it in a way that was recognizable to people like me who are actually big fans of Birds of Prey and big fans of characters like Cassandra Cain, who was not honored at all in the depiction in the Birds of Prey movie. None of the characters were. I mean, that movie was so asinine and such a waste, and the Birds of Prey are great characters, and there was some excellent stuff that could have been adapted there. I'm as far from a fucking sexist as you get. I mean, I just want good characters, and I really always enjoyed Diana Lance and the Birds of Prey. Like, that stuff was excellent. So, for me to see the way it was depicted with their terrible execution, when the Birds of Prey are exactly what these companies have been looking for. Here's some great leading ladies, a great concept, and they didn't execute it like that at all. And just like to give you a little perspective, the Birds of Prey, Batgirl in a wheelchair, operating as the computer man for her agents, which starts out as Black Canary, but does eventually build to larger teams of people, which never, as far as I remember, included Batgirl, who was separately her own awesome character and deserved fucking people's time. Still love Cassandra Cain, Batgirl. But did have Huntress and some other people show up into the fold. Now, what you get in that movie, like, none of the characters are really just executed with any reverence. And they just kind of do whatever they wanted to do, just like they did with She-Hulk. So when the Supergirl that's in the Flash movie shows up, again, that's another instance of them just going, oh, who cares? We're just going to do what we want. And because of the nature of comic books, there's like a moment in time where maybe a character looked like that who showed up in some storyline. They get to point to that in the comics and go, oh, look, this Supergirl's from the comics. But let me tell you, she's not from the comics. She's from a storyline where she was seen in passing. She's not a character that anybody has any love for, that anybody was waiting to see brought into the DC universe. The Supergirl that people have love for is blonde. There's a few different sort of depictions of her over the years, all of which would be appropriate things to adapt. But they chose this short-haired short black-haired girl to be their Supergirl. And the plan was to take the Batgirl, the race-swapped Batgirl, and I guess the fucking Supergirl was a Hispanic Supergirl too. I mean, not that a lot of these things matter when executed right. You know, please, like, you know, it's just about having reverence for the initial storyline. And if it makes sense on some level because of your reverence to race swap or gender swap or whatever, like, well, then okay. But most of the time, you're just doing a great disservice to the black people and the girls and anybody. You know, that right now there's a race-swapped Black Panther. It's a white guy, and I know that the writer is just being clever, but we don't want that. We don't like it when it's done to anyone. We don't want to see any of the characters race-swapped or gender-swapped or sexuality swapped. We'd like to see new characters invented that specifically, you know, emotionally, energetically vibe with this thing that needs to be done. So the arbitrary gender swapping, for now we'll have a short black-haired Supergirl, and we'll have a black Batgirl, and we'll put her with Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman in some sort of Justice League movie, and we've got a female Trinity. All right. First off, that's never been done before. And you might say, well, we should try it. Sure. Try it in the comics. Try it in the place where the fans of this material are. See if you can make it work there. If you can't make it work there, it's probably not going to work on the big screen. And before you jump into a movie or plans for a movie version of this thing with this female Trinity, honor the characters first, because that Supergirl wasn't Supergirl, and I didn't see the Batgirl movie. You know, if it's simply a matter of they made Batgirl black, you know, I might be able to get on board with that, and you know, maybe it's great. Unfortunately, a lot of other things tend to be changed when they start making these arbitrary changes. Well, this is our Batgirl, so let's change it in this way or that way or whatever. But even if I got my Kara Zor-El Supergirl and I got my Barbara Gordon being close enough to the thing, there's no history. There's no shared history amongst Wonder Woman and these three characters. They haven't been utilized like that. And the audience is not going to show up for that. As you saw with the Thunderbolts movie, which was arguably pretty good, but unfortunately it was not a promise fulfilled. It wasn't actually the Thunderbolts. These characters that were in the film Thunderbolts, they'd never been shown together before. Even though the film was good, it's not a promise fulfilled. And neither would this Superwoman Trinity have been any sort of promise fulfilled. The baseline audience for these movies are fans of the source material. When you completely abandon the source material completely, when you abandon it in all ways, so that you're no longer adapting something that people have an inherent interest in, you've really done yourself a great disservice, because now this whole thing has to stand on its own 2 feet, and it's going to be measured as something completely brand new being introduced to the mythology. And are we going to like it or are we not? I can tell you that Superwoman movie, Supergirl, Batgirl, and Wonder Woman, it was destined to fail. And David Zaslav very quickly scratched that whole plan, got rid of that lady, and brought in some people that he thought could do the job here. And that is ultimately James Gunn and Peter Safran, something like that. They have been brought in to overhaul the DC brand. Now, as you saw, the history of the DC on film is like terrible. I think the executives at Warner Brothers forever have been lizard people. Who just did not understand the idea of truth, justice, in the American way, superheroes. Every single film that they tried to make whatever character they were dealing with into Batman for years. And they made one shitty fucking movie after another, whether it's something like that Josh Brolin, Jonah Hex movie, or Catwoman, who isn't even Catwoman, just let's make up our own person and let's put her in a really gross and non-functional costume. And they have not understood the IP, the intellectual property that they own forever. When they gave Scott Snyder the keys to the kingdom and had him, start trying to compete with Marvel to do a universe, everything essentially was Batmanified. Zach, he doesn't get Superman. Maybe he kind of gets Batman, but he thinks, Batman might be raped in a prison in his universe of that movie. This is the type of weirdo human being we're dealing with. The world of DC Comics is a world of hope and fundamental morality, and there may be different thoughts about how we're going to go about accomplishing something, and that's the best part of a Justice League or a Teen Titans, is the different types of morality and the different people, all generally though who want the world to be a better place. Zack Snyder's universe is, a universe of more self-involved type people, self-involved type characters. A Superman who will have sex in the bathtub with his girl when he should be flying out of the bathtub, saving the person that he hears down the street getting mugged or whatever it is, and then coming back because a man like Superman has all the time in the world, because he's fast, and there's a lot of reasons why he should always be written like that, as being above board and having a moral compass, not a moral superiority, but a moral compass that he must follow. And most people did not like the Zack Snyder superhero world on the whole. Granted, there's lots of people like to refer to them as Snyder Bros on the internet, who are promoting Zack Snyder's version of the DC universe still to this day, and fighting against the idea that maybe James Gunn's going to come along and do a good job. Let me just tell you right off the bat, a certain amount of these Snyder Bros do not exist. Zack was putting money into this campaign to get his Snyder Cut released, all these things. I don't know exactly how it all came about, how it was all figured out, but this was a play that succeeded. He played the studios. He was hiring people and getting people working for him, essentially, to push this thing out. And there was some, I forget now the details that had come out a while back that said that this was true. And to this day, I believe that so much of the campaigning and what's going on is not organic. Some of it is, but not all of it. And to this day, they are trying to kind of shit can this movie. And I don't know how, what the end game is, if they still think that they're going to get more of the Zack Snyder universe going. I think maybe they think there's a chance of that happening. But I don't trust it, especially not after the information that's come out about how much of this wasn't exactly organic, and how I know that really the only way to manipulate the system is with money. You can put money into the system, you can get views on things, you can get eyes on things, but it's hard to get posts even seen on the internet. These organic campaigns, like even something like the Hawk Tuah girl, which has seemingly come out to be revealed as a cash grab on whatever level, to raise up this person and then do something with them financially. There's very little organic anything on the internet. And I mean that sincerely. Anything that you think is organic, not so much. I mean, it is so... just like everything is so locked down. I'm an artist. I'm a musician. I'm a comic book writer. To get people's attention, to get your things put in front of people, they really... case in point, I have 13,000 fans on my Facebook page. And when I post something, I'm lucky if 5 people see it. The way they will roll these things out is so slight. And there are certain things that I can get more traction on. Like if I put up a relatively cool or cute picture of me, well, there's girls on my page who think I'm cute, and there's guys on my page who think I'm cool. And, a photo is a nice, simple thing. It's not divisive politically. It's not whatever. Like that'll get pushed out a little bit more. I'll end up with 300 likes on a picture or something. But still, not all of my 13,000 fans are seeing this thing. Right now you're listening to the show. It's probably not because you've, subscribed and liked and you listen to every single episode of Coolest Geek Alive. It's probably because this was advertised to you at a certain point in time and you went, oh, let me hear about Superman. And you're talking about it right now with me because you were interested in Superman and you were looking for somebody talking about that, and I happen to be talking about that. And my show, Coolest Geek Alive, it's promoted to you. It's promoted every week. There's promotions going out for Coolest Geek Alive. Because we have promotion, we've built up a show. And we've got a nice show. If we weren't promoted at all, it would be almost impossible. I would be building up a show, but it'd be dozens of people at a time. Not thousands of people. But you can get to thousands of people, especially over time, as you build up, promote a show. And if you're campaigning to get the fucking Snyder Cut released and all this stuff, it takes money to actually get that campaign out there to people. So, thing number one of why this movie deserves to get out there is because this energy for Zack's universe, a lot of it is inorganic. And it was fundamentally flawed from the very beginning. He had talked about basically executing the alternative universe, which if the movie had been fucking promoted like this, it would have been successful. If they had promoted it as an Elseworld Superman, where that was going to lead up to the story where freaking Lois Lane gets killed and Superman goes crazy and kills the Joker, That is an alternative version of the universe that is fun and does exist, but is not the mainline version of the character. So when you say Superman, the assumption is, yeah, Superman's the good guy Superman, and that's the one we want to see. And Zach's universe has been not that. But it was promoted to us as that. We were finally going to get a Justice League. We were finally going to get Batman and Superman together on the big screen, all this stuff. And instead we got these darker, Batmanified versions of all these characters. Now, this version of Superman in James Gunn's movie seems to be, with the exception of the spoiler that we've spoken about earlier, ultimately, moralistically, very much the Superman that fans of the comics have been looking for. As I said, there's a spoiler-worthy thing at the beginning of the show, if you la through it, that really does fundamentally alter the structure of the Superman myth in ways that I don't like. But if at the end of the day he is showing up, using his brain, trying to come up with a better way to solve every situation, I'm with that. That's good. The reports of this movie and what's going on in it, and the sort of watching that I've done with the Zaslav, the David Zaslav thing that he was brought in, basically, Hollywood has been overtaken by an empowered collective of diverse, equitied, inclusive people who are not exactly interested in balance. They're not exactly interested in yesterday's stories. They want all stories to reflect the Hollywood that they are living in. And they have been fighting for a long time and been very satisfied about all of the raping and pillaging of all of the mainstream myths from Star Wars and Marvel and DC and everything in between, because they don't actually watch the content. They aren't fans of great writing and fans of great stories. They are people who are looking to use entertainment as a platform to bring about a more diverse and equitable and inclusive world, which would not inherently be a problem if they were going about it in a respectful, resonant way, a way that honored the things. But they are decidedly not doing that. And the idea that we would go from this female, Jennifer Sulke, I think was the one who was running the DC things, and she was going to make this trinity of women, and then all of a sudden we got two white guys, Safran and Gunn, who get put into, and unfortunately there is a lot of racist thinking, like two white guys, like it's being thought of like that. And this is the problem that I have with this whole bit of reverse racism and the modern Hollywood, where they don't see that they've become the thing that they hate. Those two white men with people would point to James Gunn maybe even having like not a great background because he was making jokes on his Twitter at some point in time. I worry less about those jokes, and I worry more about what's really going on behind closed doors. It does take a lot of agreement to get yourself into power positions in Hollywood like James Gunn is in. So I worry about the actual reality of him and any other person who is of a high regard in that system. But the superficial Twitter, whatever, I mean, like half the people who they are, want to point fingers at, half the people on their team are, you could point fingers at them. There is no squeaky clean-handed contingent of fucking Hollywood for the most part. And the powers that be are part of a globalist agenda to affect culture in ways that will cause revolution in countries. And I've talked about this at length before. And honestly, that's why I'm here today to talk about Superman, because their system, the industry has been going after this Superman movie in quiet ways for a while. Just the fact that there was a lot of hubbub, a little quiet hubbub about, James Gunn and Peter Safran being selected as the heads in the first place. It being spoken about in sort of like hushed tones, like, oh, well, we don't know if we really like these people that have been chosen. The fact that the movie is about morality, the fact that it isn't a gay Superman or it isn't a black Superman, or it's largely intact of what it is. It's a movie that's supposed to be about hope. It's a movie that's supposed to be about a good guy. They are trying to give us what we asked for. Now, this is a problem in this modern Hollywood because they have been trying to force feed us what we didn't ask for the past 10 years. And David Zaslav coming in, who's another white guy, going, no, we're just going to give the audience what they've been asking for. That is a problem to an overall system that has been trying to sort of rewrite reality into, hey, us superficial people in Hollywood, the pretty people, the pretty actors, and the people who have decided that we're the taste makers in Hollywood, we're the ones who are going to shape these things into the thing that we want it to be. That's what they want. That's what they've been trying to do. The idea that we don't show up and see their movies, they don't like it. Every single time they make some big change and they make some big press thing about now Doctor Who's going to be a gay guy, and then a few months later or whatever, they have to announce on some level that the Doctor Who isn't going to be freaking continuing because it's been canceled because nobody wanted to watch it. They don't like that. They don't want wins for things being done in closer, at least in this case of Superman, to the way that we'd like to see them done. They win when they're able to shove shit down our throats and get us to like it anyway. They were hoping that Thunderbolts was going to be a big success because they had made something that was pretty good, but it was still something that had no relation to the comic book, something that had no relation to the source material that we are showing up to see made into films. And because of that, the audience ultimately went, nah. But they were hoping that that was going to be the beginning of them proving that, don't worry, they're going to like it the way we do it. We just got to figure out how to do it in a relatively bad. Don't worry, we're gonna make something completely devoid of any remembrance of the source, but you're going to like it because we're going to make it in a way that is the way that we want to do it, but just a little bit. We're going to throw you a couple bones. So this Superman movie, it's not that. It is way more something that the fans might enjoy. Granted, there's a lot of things about this movie in terms of, Mr. Terrific is in the movie. Superman's been Supermaning for 3 years. In the comics, Mr. Terrific, has grown up looking up to Superman, looking up to people like Superman. He's not Superman's peer within a short period of time. There's a hierarchy, not like a typical hierarchy of like this person's, but just sort of in like timing of like when Superman came out, who some of his people that he was dealing with first are, who are the people that come along later, and all of these things create the dynamics and the types of relationships that you see in the comics. And this is a new setup. Superman interacting with some of the people that he's interacting with well before you see him interacting with other people that he's had more traditional relationships with. We're talking about the promise of him interacting with characters that we've seen him interact with before and we've enjoyed those interactions versus them just arbitrarily choosing a couple people that he's going to interact with, which is what's going on in James Gunn's movie. But when the character themselves is being rendered correctly, these are things that the audience can overcome and are worth overcoming when the fundamental infrastructure of the individual character is being honored. And I think that, with the exception of the spoil bit, which, I mean, really does make me want to go fuck these people, and I'm not going to watch it, but under these circumstances where we're seeing the system attack this new Superman movie to try to stop it, I think it deserves our support. And you're probably saying, really, Jesse? It's attacking it to stop it? Well, there was a review embargo on the movie. And review embargoes basically go something like this. They'll show the movie to people, but they give them a date. They go, you cannot review this movie until such time. Well, somebody did not follow the embargo, and they released their review of the movie early, which, like, is there's a lot of things that could go down after the fact or whatever. You get in trouble, lose your access or whatever else. But they decided to drop this review, and it was a negative review. So there was one review that got picked up by all the news outlets because nobody could drop a review. Everybody was embargoed. But this person didn't listen to that, and their review got picked up by everybody. So for a few days before the embargo was lifted, and now there's a balanced amount of reviews out there in the world, the initial word of mouth about the movie was that it was bad. But meanwhile, I'm not going to mention this motherfucker's name, but this guy was somebody who was working with the media establishment, writing pieces about how Thunderbolts was looking to change around the course correct everything for Marvel, which was Marvel's PR line, which is them. He's just regurgitating Marvel's PR line. This guy was talking about how great the fourth Captain America movie was just recently. A guy who thought Captain America 4 was fucking awesome says that the Superman movie is no good. And as it turns out, this guy could be considered a Snyder bro, somebody that has spoken positively about that situation, which that doesn't necessarily say anything bad or good about his taste, because there's some things to like about some of the Snyder the Snyder cuts are better than the fucking versions. But the fact that that version of the movie was able to get off the ground in the first place just demonstrates how stupid the executives at DC, Warner Brothers, actually are. It does, however, mean, though, that he's another one of those people who was happy with where the film franchise was going, when in general the audience wasn't thrilled with how that franchise was going, where that franchise was going. We liked Henry Cavill. We liked the director's cuts better. But the fundamental nature of Superman in the bathtub, while he can hear that problems are happening downstairs and he's like, nah, I'm going to bang Lois Lane, that's not the Superman that any of us wanted. The Superman that, oh no, in desperation, I just have to break Zod's neck at the end of the movie. I would have much rather watch Zod get banished to the negative zone or something like that than watch that. Watching Man of Steel, I was like the little boy from Iron Giant, and I was, say it ain't so, Superman. Superman. That was not the Superman film that I was looking for. The audience wasn't looking for that. People who are beating a drum for the Zack Snyder universe are essentially beating a drum for regression. Let's go back to that Scott Snyder universe and try to figure out if to make it work. But unfortunately, it already doesn't work that great. And there's so much problems that have been done. So they're trying to move forward. And granted, moving forward in various ways that they're moving forward, announcements that they've made, I don't necessarily see how all this stuff ties together in a satisfying way. I'm very nervous for a lot of this James Gunn DC universe. However, the fact that Superman has fundamentally been handled well and moralistically, I like. And and the fact that they are pushing against it and trying to stop David Zaslav, who is largely trying to please the audience. Will he please the audience? Is it all gonna, It seems like it might be some sort of amalgam where they're like trying to please these super liberal. There's a word that comes out of me sometimes to describe them that really fits, but I'm losing it right now. They're people who are trying to like change the culture through entertainment. A middle ground between those people and the people who have reverence for the source material could be a way to go, could be a way forward. And I mean, really, we need reverence for the source material first and foremost. So the faster we actually get there, and is the faster that we're going to have anything that's worth watching. And I think the longer we kind of try to please both parties, the more we're not going to succeed at pleasing any of them, especially because the group that they're trying to please is famously completely impossible to satisfy. It's like there's like reports that'll come out on how much gay representation was in this film or that film or the film industry in general, and it doesn't matter how high the numbers get, they're not happy. Especially, because the numbers have been 40% and 50%, that they've had like decent numbers in some of these like representation, and the group that they're trying to represent is not represented in the population on that level. And I am a member of this group. I am a weirdo, non-binary, fucking weird person. But you don't just completely throw out the balance and the perspectives from all the people who have been enjoying all the entertainment and just go into this other false perspective version of LGBT community and this like LA version of America where it's super, super diverse. And like half of that is like it's super diverse and has become more diverse because Hollywood was looking for diversity. So now there's like a false universe that they've made out there of this really, really diverse Hollywood. When the world is diverse, yes, the country is, it's made up of what it's always been made up of, and more immigrants and diversity all the time. So we're heading into that, direction or whatever. But there's a continuity to life. There's a continuity to what people see when they look around, the world outside your window. And when the world outside your window is a fabricated Los Angeles only kind of world that has jumped shark from the average world outside your window in America, that's a problem. We can bring people to, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't force them to drink. And you can help them to drink by making the process that brings them to the water more palatable. And the world that they have been trying to get us to lead us to this water is not fucking palatable. It's not a palatable path. And people are getting to that water and they're going, fuck this water. I'd like to see a more diverse and equitable world and all these things. Of course, I recognize that all of these terms and everything is being used by the global elite who are largely fucking white, rich, fucking powerful cis males, as you would say. And I call that a fucking slur, that word cis. I don't like hearing that shit at all. Stop saying that to people if you're out there using that term. The powers that be have empowered this group of people on purpose to basically fight with the people that identify as different than that, who identify as cis males or more traditional or more religious or whatever it is. These groups are being pitted against one another. And this is the whole problem that I have. I don't want our myths used to be fighting each other. I want our myths to unify us, as they should. I want generations of Superman fans to be able to watch the Superman movie and talk about their love for Superman together and share in something that's kind of Christ-like, but isn't Christ, isn't filled with dogma. Having religious reverence for a good idea, a moral idea like Superman or Spider-Man. With great power comes great responsibility. That's glorious. That's something that makes the world better. That's why I worship at the altar of these myths, because I believe that they have great power, and their power comes in unification, comes in bringing us closer together. So, unfortunately, the way the DEI type programs or whatever are being done right now, it is separating. It's cutting us down the middle, and it's making it an extreme act of like, you versus you versus you versus you. And we don't want that. We don't want a whole bunch of individuals. You know, there is one race, the human race. There's one tribe, the human tribe. And I mean, granted, you could include animals in that and include the totality of everything there, but there's just one group of people here, and we're all on the same side. Granted, some of us are not been on the same side, but the majority, the big bulk of us, we're all dealing with people in power who are not handling things well. We want to see a better world, but we haven't gotten it yet. And, something like Superman is the type of unifying myth that we all need to recognize that we are, powerful, and to recognize that we're fundamentally good and we're fundamentally loving, to see stories of somebody doing fundamentally good and loving things that we might do if we were given the same power and in the same situation. Now, beyond this leak of this review that painted the Superman movie in a bad way, what we also had was the same guy who's on every fucking red carpet asking, telling people like, so I hear this is the gayest version of the superhero ever. It's the gayest Marvel thing ever. Hear this is the gayest one that we've ever done. All of his questions seem to revolve around that. This time around, he was causing controversy in asking about the Superman movie, in that there was apparently people on the right who were upset that Superman was some sort of metaphor for a illegal immigrant. What a stupid and divisive question. Because one, yeah, Superman is an illegal immigrant. That is his story. But he's an illegal immigrant who does great things for the world. And, like, if you are in support of illegal immigrants, why would you ask the question like this? Like, it's just like starting like a fight versus, shouldn't you be glad that there's a quiet metaphor of like, look what an illegal immigrant can do in the world? The fact that Superman's an illegal immigrant, he's not a white cis male. He happens to look white, but he's actually Kryptonian. He's from another planet. Like, these are wonderful metaphors. Like, this is the type of things that we want. So to say it like that, in that weird way, and like he's going down the red carpet asking all of these actors and people who worked on the movie this same question about people being upset that Superman's an illegal immigrant. It's just like maddening. And it really has seemed to be the case where the media on this movie doesn't want to hype it. It's not doing the typical things, like look at all the hype that friggin' Thunderbolts got in press of like, oh, this is going to be the one, it's going to turn it around. Like the fucking puff piece type shit that was written about that Captain America movie, which sucked ass. This movie looks like it could possibly be good, that it has elements of, things that we're going to like. It's based on some certain amount of reverence for the Superman character. And yet the entertainment media landscape is like, they really seem to not want this to work, because if it works for the reasons that fans are asking for, if it works because it's trying to give something more like what the fans were looking for, that puts power back in the audience's hands. If it fails this weekend to generate buzz, if it fails to do anything, they're going to use that as an excuse to say, oh, well, see, we tried to give the audience things that they wanted, but the audience doesn't even know what it wants, and the audience can't be trusted anyway, so let's stop listening to the audience completely, which is what they've been doing. They don't want to listen to the audience. So anything that seems to be an answer to trying to give the audience what it wants, the audience for this material, they really seem to like James Gunn. All right, let's put him in charge of this stuff. Let's let him do the Superman movie, and let's try to do the Superman movie that might satisfy the audience. Let's get a Superman that's about hope, that's about truth, justice, the American way. If we don't show up for this thing, they are going to use this as an excuse to say it's awful. So I am asking you to give it a try. Give this movie a try. Because I think that if it's remotely worthy, we should give it energy and send them the message that when they honor the audience on any level, that we will show up when we feel that the things that we love are being treated with respect. This seems to be largely treating Superman with respect, barring our little spoiler from the beginning, and that is worthy of our time and attention. Go out there, check out the movie. If it's great, spread the word. If it's not, we shouldn't fucking lift this thing up because they're going to choose to learn other lessons from it if it succeeds or if it fails. But I don't want them to have an easy excuse to trash pleasing the fandom. And that does seem to be largely what has been going on here. There is an attempt to please the audience. And I believe that we should demonstrate that we are up for that by trying to give this flick a fair shake. And I'm going to go see it this weekend. I hope that you guys will be there in the theater and we can all enjoy the film together. This is it. This is the beginning of the James Gunn DC universe. And if it's good, it deserves some energy. If it's not, they'll have to fucking do it again, and they're going to learn whatever lessons they're going to learn from this. But I think there's a good chance that it may be mostly pretty good and that it deserves our time and attention. And the energy going into the film's release has been really muddled and murky because of a lot of factors that have nothing to do with whether or not it's good, whether or not it has respect and reverence for the source material. And I think based on everything that I've heard, it does. So I just want to encourage everybody to give this flick a shot, like I'm going to, and and maybe I'll even come back and talk about it after I see it next week, and we can talk about whether or not this is worth staying the course for. This weekend, I think I might talk about the new Jurassic Park movie for Coolest Pick, because I really did like it. And they're going to do a Coolest Pick on Saturday. Talk about that one. I hope you'll join me. I've got 2 campaigns that are up on Kickstarter right now. They're not launched yet, but you can go to Kickstarter and sign up for notifications there for Jesse Blaze Masterworks album, 9-album box set, plus USB and other collectible shit for my music. I'm using that to raise funds for the Sugar and Bones magazine, which is our fucking fuck you replacement to Heavy Metal magazine, which has been corporate owned for the past decade or more now, and fucking sucks ass. Fuck that fucking magazine and those people who are running it. I'm sure they're very nice people, but it doesn't matter. They're the spark of creativity that needs to be involved in something like that isn't there. But I've got it. It's in me. It's in me and my friends like Digger Mesh and Aaron Sparrow and Steve Kurth and Todd Blackwood. And we've got an amazing magazine that we're putting together called Sugar and Bones. So go to Kickstarter, type in Jesse Blaze. You can find my Masterworks album. Type in Sugar and Bones. You can find the magazine. Sign up for notifications because that shit is going to be coming in the next few months. And I'm really excited to bring it to you. If you don't listen to my Esoteric Wisdom show, it's every Monday. It's called Everything They Don't Want You to Know. This week, I reveal the secrets of the universe. I've been working with psychedelic plant medicine for a very long time, and it's just a matter of getting through your taboos and figuring out what is really going on here on planet Earth. And I talk about it at great length. Essentially, everything is nothing. From nothing has come everything. And if you want to understand more about what that means, I talk about it at great length on Monday's show. I think it should probably be out by the time you are listening to this. I was a little bit late on my Monday show. Anyway, I'll be back on Saturday doing a coolest pick on the Jurassic World movie. But until then, I hope you will join me then, and I hope you will join me again Wednesday. Sometimes when I'm trying to end the show, I just can't stick the landing. Like all my words are all backed up. All right. Hope to see you on Saturday for a coolest pick. And then I'll see you again next Wednesday for another fucking awesome episode of the Coolest Geek Alive. I love you. Oh, and if you want to email me, you can email me at jesseblaze@jessesnider.com. Anyway, see you next time, guys. See Superman. See you next week. Bye-bye. You've been listening to Coolest Geek Alive with me, your host, Jesse Blaze Snider. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe for more excellent geek culture content. Thanks for listening.
It's my favorite part. Isn't that heavy? I'll play that. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Coolest alive. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Stay with your tribe. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Revenge of the Geeks. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Week after weeks. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Laughing with you. It's gonna be fucking awesome. And crying sometimes too. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Spelling it out. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Making you shout. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Talking some shit. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Living your shit. My voice gonna be fucking awesome. Food in our mouth. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Get in the mouth. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Tell all your friends. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Call right or text. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Raising the bar. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Straight to the stars. It's gonna be fucking awesome. It's starting soon. Straight to the top. Awesome. Passing the moon. It's gonna be fucking awesome. On with the show. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Ready, set, go. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Fucking awesome. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Just wait. You'll see. You'll all see.
You'll all see. The podcast playground.